Hey, this is Matthew, and welcome back to Nerd News. Today, it's time once again for another action figure review, and today we have another great piece from Diamond Select as part of their Marvel Select series, and this time around it's everybody's favorite Mad Titan, Thanos. One of my earliest Diamond Select figures ever was in fact the original Thanos that they made, which was based on the Jim Starlin style comics. It's always been a favorite look of mine, and that kind of put the theory in my head that when Diamond does characters who are really big and bulky, that's when they do their figures the best. So Thanos is always a favorite of mine in figure form, and I've got pretty high hopes for this figure. Now what's unique about this particular version of Thanos is that this isn't meant to be a movie version or a comic version. This is actually meant to be an amalgamation of both of those things. So this is essentially Diamond's take on the Mad Titan, doing it their way, but taking some inspiration from both the comics and the films. So let's take a quick look at the packaging before we go ahead and bust them out. And of course the figure is in the typical Diamond Select packaging. It's very large, very bulky. You know, last time I looked at some figures from Diamond Select was the Castlevania series, and I saw that those were kind of in the rectangular boxes. I thought that might have been the new direction they were going in full time, but no, it looks like they're still sticking with the big boys over here, which is fine. It's just a very large box. That part kind of bugs me, but that's kind of just how it is with Diamond figures. And at this point, if you're collecting, you know what you're in for. It's got a really great purple scheme though, which is of course the classic Thanos color scheme to have. And on the bottom corner of the packaging, there's this nice little drawing of Thanos, which looks like it is in fact a Jim Starlin drawing. So thumbs up for that reference right off the bat. For folks who are collecting this mint on cards, I'm going to probably display this library style. You get this nice comic style illustration of Thanos on the side. And on the back of the box, well, you get a very large picture of Thanos, and that's about it. Nothing else whatsoever on the back of this packaging. No description, no summary of who the character is, no look at other figures in the line. And worst of all, in my opinion, is the fact that it doesn't even mention who designed or sculpted this. Now, I think on the website they actually do have that information, but I like having it on my toys. I like knowing who designed it, who sculpted them. So for me, that's a little bit of a letdown. I like to give the artist credit when credit is due, so you know, hopefully that's something they do more again in other figures. But otherwise, pretty sparse back of the box. But we're not mint on card collectors anyway, so let's go ahead, break the Mad Titan loose, and take a look at him from all angles. Alright, and here is our Thanos now out of the box. So first thing I noticed about Thanos, by the way, before we even talk about anything else, is just how stiff his joints were. This is something that happens a lot with Diamond Select figures, and unfortunately this figure today is really stiff out the box. Now we're talking on a scale 1 to 10, this figure goes to 11. So unfortunately today I don't have any kind of hair dryer here. I don't really have access to any really hot water to kind of like get these joints to loosen up. So unfortunately when we do talk about articulation, I'm not going to be able to show you guys much because, I mean, yeah, it's just really stiff. I mean, luckily the knees do seem to be working, so that's good. Yeah, there we go. So you can hear how stiff that is. I mean, that's like superbly stiff. And yeah, I'm afraid to break a joint here. No, there we go. All right, so we got that elbow going. Maybe I spoke too soon. No, okay, this one's a stubborn joint. Of course, it's the one with the Infinity Gauntlet. So, yeah, you guys have to take my word for at least that joint, that this is a super stiff out the box figure. Like, wow, that is rough. So, all right, let's talk first things first, though, about the likeness, because that's always one of the things I love the most about Thanos is his bizarre head. And by the way, you may notice when we open this box here that he has two heads. We have an alternate head sculpt. There's one with the helmet on and one with the helmet off. And I think both are superb. And I gotta say too, from a sculpting standpoint, these are, wow, like in terms of action figures that they've done, they've had some really great action figures, but this is one of the best paint jobs I can easily say on both these heads, because one of the things I always complain about with Diamond figures has been the paint jobs on the faces and how they tend to be very thick and very globby. These are perfect. These are really fine, very nicely detailed, good weathering and good texturing. These are absolutely just perfect. Yeah, these are stunning. Like, there's just the right amount of paint on all these figures, so that's not overpowering, it's not too much, it's not too globby. This is like a turning point for these figures, so I really hope that all these figures continue to be like this, and they kind of start straying away from how thick they've been in the past with, like, let's say the John Wick figures, or any other figures that had a lot of likenesses. Sometimes the paint can be on very thick. This time around, though, again, I can't get over how good this actually is, and it's so great to be able to see the sculpting, because that's what happens when you put too much paint on a figure, is you lose all the sculpted detail, and there's so much great detail on Thanos' head here and his face. And yeah, if we're going to talk, too, about detail and texture, we have to now look at the whole figure, because, you know, let's start from the top, work our way down. The head here has got this just amazing detail all over the helmet, on his helm piece here. Shoulder pads, really nice. These are, by the way, not a separate piece. This is molded into the upper buck of the torso. The gloves, the gauntlets are great, especially, of course, the Infinity Glove. Boots has some excellent texture. The belt, it's very almost like Kirby-esque or Ditko-esque what they've done with the design on this too. Yeah, just very great use texture. And again, when I got that Thanos, the original one that Diamond did, it didn't have all this kind of textural stuff going on here. It was just basically, like it was drawn in the Jim Starlin comic, just like pieces of fabric. But today, the comics have made it a little bit more complicated, and they kept it up here, and it makes it very visually and texturally interesting. I mean, we have this kind of tread going across his legs here, same with the chest piece. Just a lot going on, and, again, I gotta just talk about how there's just not a ton of paint on this guy, so that I can really see all the detail and really appreciate it much more. Now, you might be seeing also these little specks here going across his chest piece there. I don't actually know if that's meant to be battle damage or if that's just some paint gone horribly wrong. For my money, I'm going to say it is meant to be battle damage, because it looks like it is, in fact, battle damage. And it's plus it's on the back side, too. So I'm going to go out of my way and assume that is meant to be scratches there on the armor. And if that's the case, then yeah, that looks actually really nice also. So let's go ahead and talk about these gauntlets now, too, because that's also something you guys really want to have with a good Thanos figure. It's nice gloves. So here's the ungauntleted hand first, and yeah, I really, really like this look. I like these giant things here going around the bottom of the gloves there. Nice pose to the hand as well. Just really solid, nice looking piece. And yeah, this does also move. It moves independently of the wrist, but yeah, those both move, which is good. Helps the figure work really nicely. I'm gonna just try. I feel like I've almost got this joint to bend. Let me try one more time. Nah, okay, I'm not gonna risk it. It's really resistant, so I'll have to just give you a fist bump here of Thanos to get a better look at that Infinity Gauntlet. But same thing here, really colorful, very nice gauntlet on him. And it's slightly different from the other glove. You can see here, this is a lot thicker. This is shaped a little bit differently than the other glove that we just looked at before. It is very similar to what was in the movie, but not nearly as intricate and crazy as what was in the movie. And I don't mind that, because this is, again, meant to be a combination of both the comic and the movie versions. And I think this works just fine for me. I kind of wonder what would happen if they maybe put this piece here on that side. Maybe that would have helped make it look a little bit thicker and bigger, because I feel like the Infinity Gauntlet should have a little bit more girth to it, and this hand clearly does, while this one does not as much. So I guess it's one my little thing. I like how the gloves look no matter what. Both of them look really good. I'm just curious what would happen if you played around moving those pieces to different spots, or done something kind of similar to make this just look much bigger, much more grand. But on the other hand, the Infinity Gauntlet in the original comic wasn't that spectacular looking. It was just literally a glove with some jewels on it. So maybe that's what they're going for more here, is more of the fact that, that this side of Thanos' gauntlets were meant to be him, what he had done for himself, and they're all regal and grand and grandiose, in fact. And this one here is meant to be a little bit more humble. It's just meant to be a simple glove with a bunch of very, very powerful jewels encrusted into it. So let's jump into articulation also, because we have mentioned it. We talked about it a lot already. The head does move, and it's got pretty nice articulation. Shoulders are ball jointed. We've got a bicep curl over here on this arm, and the wrists move. I would love to have shown it to you on this side, but it's just so stiff. I'm going to need to get a blow dryer to make that heated up and move. The torso goes up and down, and that's pretty decent. The waist, well, okay, the torso moves, actually. I didn't realize that moved that much, so that's nice. Let's see. I don't think the waist moves, though. It's a little hard to tell if it does or doesn't. Looks like it's not for me. Legs have some good articulation. Let's see. Yeah, so you could, in theory, if these weren't here on the sides, you could probably have Thanos do a split, but, that's hindering his articulation, but not like you need him to do high kicks. Other than that, thigh moves, and the knees are actually double jointed. This was a bit of a surprise for a figure like this, but Thanos has double jointed knees. How about that? Was not expecting that. And the boots, let's see if those are articulated as well. I don't think those are. No, that isn't, but the ankle does have a little bit of a joint there, which again, this side very stiff out the box. This one I got to move. So it goes up and down, and it can also do a little bit of the swivel. So articulation is actually pretty good. It's just, again, when you get a diamond figure, you got to really heat up the joints. I've broken one or two in the past as well. I think it happened once on camera too. So really, if your diamond select figure is very, very stiff, just heat it up. Don't risk it. Don't snap a joint. Do the smart thing. Don't do what I just did on camera by trying to break this thing, because, yeah, this broken camera, that would have been horrible for me. Would hate to have had that happen. Now let's go ahead and talk about Thanos' spare head. I'm going to pop it off. Let's see how this goes on. See how stiff the head is. All right, that took a little bit of work, but not terrible, actually. Not terrible for a head. Let's see if I can get this other head on. So the head is also really, really stiff as well right now, that joint. So I would also recommend, if you're going to swap heads, same thing. Heat it up with a hairdryer. Don't do water in this case. Just use a hairdryer. That's a little bit safer. You won't get any water trapped inside there. So heat it up with a hairdryer. That'll make the plastic more flexible, and you can just pop it right on. But that's how he looks with the other head on. And yeah, they're both excellent heads. I mean, for my money, I always will prefer the helmeted head, but it's nice to have that option. Now, sadly, that is the only and very lonely accessory for this Thanos figure. Nothing else comes with it. So that part is a bit of a letdown. I would have loved to have had, at the very least, a base or something, or, Sometimes we've had removable gauntlets with Thanos figures. That could have been done here, maybe. The original Thanos came with a death figure to go next to him, which was kind of cool. I think I actually threw it out when I got it because I was like, this has no purpose for me. I regret doing that now. But other than, the spare head here, nothing. No base, no diorama pieces, no weapons. I was hoping for a little bit more. And don't get me wrong, I very much appreciate that we have two different faces here, two different likenesses on Thanos. But why not have a base piece or something else to kind of make it a little bit more fleshed out? Because I know for a fact that it's not because of the size of this figure that they're not putting much in it. Because case in point, we'll be looking at the Planet Hulk figure very soon. And the Planet Hulk figure is bigger than Thanos, and he comes with a shield and a giant axe. So, no excuse there. For what it's worth, I still think it's an excellent Thanos figure. If I had to choose between this and the Marvel Legends one that came out very recently as well, I would go with this one for sure. This is an absolute pick over Hasbro any day of the week. And I'm saying that for both stylists, because I know that Hasbro did also a sort of comic version of Thanos, as well as a classic comic version of Thanos. We're not talking about the James Brolin version here, because this isn't meant to be exactly James Brolin. In terms of the comic-y versions, any day I would pick Diamond Select over Hasbro. Better detail, better sculpt, nicer paint, more interesting to look at. Two different heads are, of course, very, very nice. I think the only difference is that the Hasbro one does have a swappable glove. Don't quote me on that, because I don't know for a fact. That would have been, again, a nice thing to have included, but I don't know how they could have done that considering how much detail they have in this glove as is. Would have made the figure probably a little more expensive to have a swapping forearm. I don't know, that's just my theory on it. But, as I've said in the past, and as I said at the start of this video, I think when Diamond Select does big, bulky characters, that is when they are at their peak performance, and this is no exception to the rule. I was sad when I missed out on that pre-order for that Jim Starlin-style Thanos from Hasbro, but I was able to get this version a lot easier, and I'm way happier looking at this one compared to what I've seen with that other one. So, again, my money, when it comes to a Thanos figure, is always going to be put on Diamond Select. So if you want to order this version of Thanos for yourself, go ahead and check out our description for the video, and you'll see our Amazon affiliate link for Thanos. So if you please use that, you'll help out our YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So final thoughts here, great figure Thanos, lovely heads, amazing sculpting on these, some of the best sculpting work and head painting I've ever seen on a Diamond Select figure here. Cannot beat these. Only thing I would have wished for was maybe a base or some kind of other thing to have with the figure besides the heads. But beyond just that, it's an amazing figure, totally worth having. If you're going to have a Thanos figure in your collection, make it Diamond Select. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here next time.